Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world, and whenever you are tuning into this video. My name is James Porcelli.
I'm Brian Thomas.
And welcome to another edition of Ruthless Talk. Shout out to Jalen. If you guys haven't saw our last episode, he was a part of our Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Our only guest that we've ever had on an edition of the Good and Bad and the Ugly, our pay-per-view review that we always usually do when we talk about a WWE pay-per-view, an AEW pay-per-view, whatever the case may be. And Jalen, once again, if you're listening to this, shout out to you. It's always a pleasure for you to be on our platform. And of course, it's always a pleasure. And thank you for always supporting our platform and supporting our community.
Absolutely.
Once again, make sure you guys go check out that last episode. Had a lot of fun dissecting Elimination Chamber. And of course, make sure you guys go check out Jalen Johnson in that video. All of his information, his social medias are in that description. So make sure you guys go check him out. So with all of that being said, today, you guys know it is Wednesday, so it is time to talk about Monday Night Raw. So, of course, we got AEW Revolution, of course, this weekend. It is this Sunday, and we will save our thoughts and our takes for next episode, which is going to be this weekend, most likely on Saturday. We will talk about the card, how we feel about the card and all these matchups. Of course, it's going to be Sting's, of course, big retirement. That is pretty much a big marquee match that AEW has been promoting as of late. And then, of course, next week we will talk about AEW Revolution. We'll recap the entire pay-per-view and our thoughts and everything else as a whole. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. But today is about Monday Night Raw. Today is about the post-show from Elimination Chamber. And before we get into our topics, your boy's got a lot to say. And Brian,
let us have it.
So look, man, and I also said few choice words about how Elimination Chamber went off the air. And listen, I get it. The whole Rhea Nia Jax thing, you wanted Rhea Ripley to have her moment. It was in Australia, and it was good for what it was. But I even said that, listen, if you're going to do that for Rhea, then you're gonna have to have something big for whether it's Becky, whether it's Liv, whatever the case may be. And it just feels like to me, Brian, to where, yes, there is a lot of things that we could potentially hold out hope for, right? When it comes to Drew McIntyre, when it comes to Gunther, when it comes to whatever name you want to drop at me or whatever the case may be. But I feel like now that we're less than 40 days away from WrestleMania, 40 days, less than freaking 40 days, and I feel like nothing is truly getting accomplished because now there's just more questions and confusion than there are answers. And here's an example. Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch this past Monday. They had this interaction, pretty much the same interaction that you've seen at the press conference, and nothing truly got accomplished. Nothing was in any intrigue. Anything was outside the box, but that's just Triple H for you because Triple H has no creative bone in his fucking body. I've said it for weeks and months now, for freaking a year now. And as well as freaking Raquel Rodriguez, she defeats Chelsea Green in less than 30 seconds. And that's it. Like, why are we putting Chelsea Green in a 30-second squash match when you could just put somebody in the city of San Jose to do that job for Chelsea Green? By the way, Chelsea Green was freaking hilarious, freaking calling out the San Jose freaking Sharks. That was more freaking intriguing than Raquel Rodriguez squashing her for 30 seconds. By the way, somebody in Gorilla needs to just tell Raquel to stop freaking smiling. And much love to Raquel, but like somebody's got to tell her to stop smiling because like it's not like, listen, The Rock was a freaking prime example of it as Rocky Maivia. The more, the whole stuff doesn't work for a whole lot of people. And we're putting more focus on smiling Santana, Raquel Rodriguez than we are with people like Chelsea Green, who actually have something to fucking offer in this company. But we want to be the main focal point of freaking Raquel Rodriguez that still doesn't have a connection, still doesn't have truly anything to offer outside of maybe that she's bigger, she's a bigger wrestler, she can wrestle a little bit, but that's it. And as well as this women's freaking tag division, Shayna Baszler and Zoe Starks, who are heels, you're hinting the fact that they're going to go after titles that are held by two fucking heels. What is the obsession with heel versus heel? I'll even give you another example. Damian Priest and frickin' Gunther. You teased Sami Zayn and Gunther backstage, and I was like, you know what? Brilliant. I made a TikTok about it and how I think Sami Zayn at this point, Brian, should honestly be the opponent for Gunther at this point at Mania. I talked all about it on TikTok. If you want to see that, of course, you see the banner down below. Go follow our TikTok page. I talk all about it. And now you're teasing the Judgment Day and Damian Priest, two other fucking heels. You have a heel in Gunther, guys, going up against Dominic Mysterio, little dirty Dominic Mysterio, who's also getting fucking booed. You already teased Sami Zayn and Gunther. Now you're teasing Dominic and freaking Gunther and Damian Priest and Gunther. Guys, like, what the fuck? Really fucking play, Brian. I don't know if you're just as baffled as I am. I don't know.
Well, I got a theory about it, but I hear you.
I'll get to you in just a second. And I get it. The Judgment Day, they're about to split up and everything. But still, man, it's just very freaking weird because, like, have we not learned anything from Austin Theory? How this dude tried to catch in a fucking briefcase on a mid-card title, and that dude got fucking ruined because of it. And now we're going to do what? We're going to tease that Damian Priest could potentially do the same thing because Damian Priest has no fucking business cashing in a freaking briefcase on a world title, Roman Reigns' freaking title, because you didn't want to give the freaking briefcase to LA Knight, who was already white hot, but let's give it to Damian Priest and hope and pray that it gets over. And how's that working out?
Yeah.
Because no one gives a shit, right? Heel versus heel, another freaking heel versus heel. Like, because here's the thing, Brian, and this is how I truly feel. If this were still Vince McMahon, and I'm being dead serious, if Vince McMahon was still was still in full control of the creative decisions, for the majority of this show, we would be fucking bashing it. I'm telling you, but it's the fact that it's Triple H and he does stuff that is slightly better than Vince McMahon. Okay, for the past 10 years, yes. But here's the thing, man. Triple H wishes, he freaking prays to freaking sleep that he could be even the ounce of creativity that Vince McMahon used to have freaking in the 90s, in the late 90s, and even early 2000s. I'll even go to that part. Now, the last 10 years, absolutely. Vince McMahon has freaking taken WWE and put it into the fucking shitter. But let's not freaking act like Triple H is no fucking better. I mean, you have freaking Seth Rollins, who's going through an identity crisis. He's wearing freaking, it looks like he's a fucking teenager from Hot Topic, and he's trying to have a serious conversation with Drew McIntyre. The same interaction that I saw 4 fucking months ago. And was the interaction good? Sure, absolutely. But that's the wrestlers alone. That's the wrestlers alone. The company has to start getting more creative. Make me give a shit about Drew and Seth. Drew and CM Punk, freaking can't wait for it because that's coming from Drew McIntyre alone. Freaking all the disses towards CM Punk, and it's been tremendous. But Seth and freaking Drew McIntyre, I couldn't give a single shit about it because that interaction, man, the same interaction that I saw 4 months ago, and now you expect me to get that much more excited to have this matchup for the 3rd fucking time now, because that's what I also don't get either. The main event, or not even the main event, quote unquote, one of your big matches on the card is another rematch. It's the 3rd matchup in a row between Drew and Seth Rollins. And nobody has a problem with it. Now, again, Drew McIntyre is going to win the match and he's going to go on to hold on to that title. Punk is going to come back and they're going to have a good feud and it's all going to be freaking peaches and cream, hopefully. But man, like, this is WrestleMania, man. I feel like all we're doing is we're just hinting and placing teases, like with Liv Morgan and freaking Nia Jax. Like the stage is set for freaking Rhea and Becky, but is it really? Because now you have Liv Morgan and Nia Jax. Is somebody going to get added? Is Nia Jax going to get added? Well, we need to find out because we're almost a freaking month away here. And that's my problem. I feel like we're just delivering hints and teases and nothing's really truly getting accomplished for WrestleMania. Nothing is progressing about WrestleMania. Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins. The main focal point of that freaking promo was, guess what? Yep, you guessed it. The bloodline. It's not about those two. It's not about the beef between those two. It's about the fucking bloodline. And how can I take Seth Rollins seriously when he's wearing his wife fucking clothing and he's trying to get serious about the bloodline and his world championship? It's like the dude's going through an identity crisis. It's weird. Now, again, Seth Rollins he's a professional and he's a tremendous talent, but his character right now is fucking odd. It's really, really freaking odd. It just really is. And guys, the only thing that was positive, and Brian, I'll send this off to you when I say this, the only thing that truly got a rise out of me last night was Paul Heyman using 2 phones to call Roman and The Rock. That shit was freaking hilarious. As well as, thank God that freaking Cody Rhodes finally got somewhat serious. It took him freaking months upon freaking years to finally freaking get serious and actually put his freaking foot down and say, hey, you know what? The bloodline's not hunting me. I'm hunting the bloodline. Where the fuck has that been for freaking months and years? So it's just, and you got a rematch with Shinsuke and freaking Sami Zayn. Good for Sami Zayn. What the fuck does that do for Shinsuke Nakamura? You could have had just a freaking jobber in San Jose, could have just done the job for Sami Zayn, and freaking Shinsuke loses nothing because he doesn't lose the freaking match, because I don't know what the hell we're doing with Shinsuke. He could just be in a freaking Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, and it's like, you know what I'm saying, Brian? And just like, and again, with Sami Zayn, hopefully, again, we're holding out hope that continues to progress, but it's so odd that you're teasing that and you're teasing the Judgment Day. Guys, go back and watch Gunther's facial expressions. This dude is fucking baffled. This, like, wait a minute, are you cashing this briefcase on me? Like, is this what you're doing? Like, what like, who the fuck is booking this garbage? Like, it's fucking weird. It's really fucking weird. But here's what I'll also say, and I know I've talking a lot these first 10 minutes. This pay-per-view can be salvaged. And you know how it could be salvaged, Brian? The undercard. The undercard can be very, very good. There's a lot of potential with this undercard for people like Jimmy Uso and Jay, Tiffany Stratton and Bianca. We've seen little teases about that. Sami Zayn and Gunther. Again, I've spoken about how you can book that and how you can make that prestigious. You know, all of these freaking matchups, man, all of them. Randy Orton and Logan Paul. We talked about that freaking on the last episode as well. So a lot of this can be salvaged, but there's still so many fucking issues on how we're getting there. I feel like, Brian, I'm just watching the same freaking episode, whether it's The Sopranos, Seinfeld, Friends, and it's everything on a fucking loop. For majority of the show, at least what I'm talking about here. And nothing is getting me that much more excited about Mania. It's just not, especially for your main events, because we don't even really know what the main events are going to be. Is Nia Jax and Liv Morgan going to get added into this? And again, we're less than a month away. Where is the urgency? That is my problem. So again, can things be salvaged at this point? Sure. But at this point, Brian, we are running out of time. And the only thing we can do is hope that they have something for them. But the question is, how much freaking faith do we have in this company that they're actually going to get it right? We talked about Andrade, right? Andrade, they're teasing a little bit of Andrade. You know who they also did that for? Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. What the fuck are they doing? Absolutely freaking nothing. They did the same thing with countless of other superstars to where, they're teasing vignettes. And guess what they do weeks upon end? We don't hear a fucking thing from them. Xia Li, she wrestled a match with frickin' Becky Lynch. Nothing to be heard of frickin' Xia Li. As well as this women's tag division that couldn't be any more fucking irrelevant. Whew! Man, it's a Wednesday, man, and I'm getting frickin' amplified, man. So listen, if you don't like what I'm saying, then tough shit, man. Because again, I just keep it 100. I don't freaking sugarcoat. And yes, I acknowledge the fact that there's a lot of potential with Drew, with Gunther, with a lot of other stuff. But if you guys don't see the problems and the issues that are going on right now, that nothing is getting nothing's progressing going into WrestleMania, that we're just doing the same face-to-face segments, which are good to a degree, the same face-to-face segments, the same matches, the same rematches. You're getting 2 more rematches freaking next week, and I'll get to that later. Nothing is progressing, and we're less than a month away. And Triple H needs to get his fucking shit together. Brian, your thoughts?
I'm going to be devil's advocate here, man. I mean,
Let's hear it.
I hear what you're saying.
Let's hear it.
Let me start with Chelsea Green. Like Chelsea and Shinsuke, unfortunately, man, like I really do think they're like the new Dolph Zigglers. Like you put them in there, we the fans, WWE knows that they're going to put on a good match, a good segment. They're going to make their opponent look good. And I hate it. I think Chelsea is now, especially since she's not in the tag, is being more, put into that position more. But I've spoken about it with Shinsuke for, a few months now. I think that's just where he's at right now, man. It's unfortunate because I think both of them have a lot more to offer than just, the people to enhance whoever's you're trying to push, but I think that's kind of where they're at. For the women, man, I mean, yeah, that at Mania, yeah, I mean, guaranteed that's at minimum now a triple threat, if not a fatal four-way at Mania. But, I mentioned it on last week or last podcast. Like, I think what they're going to do is a double turn with Becky and Rhea. If you make it a triple threat or a fatal four-way, you have Becky pin Nia, who then you can say she's had her, she's beat Nia for the title. You have the double turn. So yeah, I mean, I think they're kind of setting that up. And I mean, yeah, you could, could they do it faster, whatever? Sure. But I think that's where they're headed, man. At least for sure, the double turn, because there's no way Rhea's leaving Mania as a heel. She's just not.
No.
And so, and even, and I've spoken about this, like, I mean, yeah, I didn't want Becky. I didn't really want to see a one-on-one with Becky and Rhea, that wasn't my number one option. And, not that I like three or, triple threats or whatever, but with everything you're trying to do in what, or the amount of things you can do in one match, the double turn, Becky gets a revenge on Nia, if it's just a triple threat. If you have Liv in there, obviously Liv's going to play a big part of there. Maybe Becky pins Liv, as Liv's going to be like kind of the ultimate baby face. So I mean, I just think there's a lot of good there, and I mean, I think they're starting to build that now. I mean, you had to get to Elimination Chamber. Now we're past that. I was looking at the calendar. If I'm right, I think we still have like 6 SmackDowns counting last night, 6 Raws until Mania. So Rock is going to be there the next 3, at least. We know that. He's definitely going to be there the SmackDown right before Mania. So that's 4 of the 6 SmackDowns. He's going to be there. So that's going to evolve the story. And even with like the Drew and Seth, yeah, it's the 3rd time. I guess with the promo, I'm just happy that like Drew kind of mentioned what we're all, talking about. Like, why are you focusing so much on helping Cody and the Bloodline instead of, defending your title?
Yeah.
I think that was a great promo, and going forward, because even at Mania, I don't think this is going to be the end of the Bloodline. There's, again, you have Cody and McIntyre talking about the Bloodline. Seth's now involved. Orton has history with them. I'm telling you, man, something's going to happen at War Games, and I think that is where the Bloodline is ultimately going to kind of fall apart or go their separate ways or whatever. And if they do that, I mean, then you can look back at all this time here and say, well, yeah, this is why, all these wrestlers, right? We've built up years of story with Drew and Seth and Cody and Orton. And now it culminates in this with all of these people, and you can even make it because the Bloodline, you can put all of them over on SmackDown and everybody else over on Raw. You could make it a Raw SmackDown thing. So I don't know, man. I'm trying to look at it with, half glass full. I see a lot of potential and where they're trying to go. How they get there, is for the eye of the beholder. But last night, I mean, I'll tend to give them a little bit of a break, knowing that they just came off a grueling travel schedule, and from what I saw, what I'm thinking they're going for in the future, they did plant those seeds, I think, pretty well last night.
Well, if you put it that way, that's why, Brian, I would love to have you a part of freaking creative than a lot more of those freaking people in the back, because clearly you probably have a clear vision of what could potentially be good and what could potentially salvage this. The problem is, though, Brian, is that I don't trust
who
this
knows?
company.
Right, sure.
That's the thing. Like, we can hold out hope all we want, but are they true? Like, what has told us that they're going to fully, excel this?
Mm-hmm.
To me, they're not.
And this is where at least right now, right? Because again, we've talked about it, and we can discuss who's right and who's in the better position, whatever. But we're just right now in the last month and a half, really truly starting WWE without Vince McMahon. So I'm willing to see where this goes with new leadership, 100% leadership. So, that's just kind of where I think it is going to be better. So I hope it's going to be better.
Your lips to God's ears. That's the thing. And that's my problem then, man, is that we continue to hold out hope. We've held out hope for quite some time now. And maybe after WrestleMania season, because it clearly just feels like we're just trying to just get to WrestleMania at this point. And maybe they're kind of planting more seeds for after Mania than they are going into WrestleMania. But that's also my problem as well, is that, again, it's how much more can we hold out hope until we come to conclusion that this company and Triple H just doesn't really have that much creative freaking juice in their freaking body. Because who would do tremendous more work back there? People like you, Brian. People like me.
I'm not going to put me up there yet.
Dude, I'm telling you, man. Me, you, we get a creative team behind. I'm telling you, bro, we will do a 10 times better fucking job than Triple H and freaking Crater 912. Seriously. I know, bro. I freaking know so. Trust me. And you know who else would do a much better job? Freaking Paul Heyman and Shawn Michaels. I'll take freaking those two.
Yeah, absolutely, those two for sure.
Over freaking Triple H and
Heyman,
day of the week.
And HBK is doing great things with NXT, but Heyman for sure, 100%.
And that's what I mean, bro. Freaking Paul Heyman can make Triple H look freaking average when it comes to freaking creative, because I know what Paul Heyman can bring to the table, and what Shawn Michaels has shown me in a short amount of time over in NXT freaking also proves me the exact same thing as well. My point is, man, that, I'm hopeful too. I'm very, very hopeful. I've spoken about the undercard. People like Tiffany Stratton and Bianca Belair. There's a lot of potential there. Jimmy Uso and Jay. There's potential there. Why wasn't there seeds planted about that freaking this past Monday night on Raw? But you know what you're getting next week on Raw? A rematch with Drew McIntyre and Jey Uso. Now, maybe you continue that going into next week. Who freaking knows when it comes to that? Does Jimmy Uso get involved again in freaking Jey Uso's business? Who freaking knows? Again, holding out hope, but we can only hold out hope for so freaking long until we just come to the conclusion is that this company may not be as creative as we truly think that they are. And I've seen it now for a full year. I've seen it now for months. And this coming WrestleMania, after this WrestleMania, will be probably most likely, Brian, for me, the final straw. Because like I said, Brian, because it seems like you have more of an idea of what this company is probably going to do than this fucking company. I'm serious. But that's my freaking issue with all of this. So is there good? Absolutely. Just because I'm a little bit, dare I say, negative about things doesn't mean I'm not holding out hope. Trust me, I am fully freaking holding out hope, because I got no freaking choice but to freaking hold out hope in what they're going to freaking do. So listen, man, again, Drew McIntyre is doing tremendously well.
Mhm.
That's only Drew McIntyre by himself alone and what he's doing with Punk. Because again, Punk and Drew, that can be a lot of fun when CM Punk comes back
I expect
from
it to be.
injury.
Yep.
And you can honestly, man, like, you know, whenever, depending on CM Punk's his progression, you know, with rehab and everything, you know, he was a commentator, right? Maybe put him on commentator, because I'm sure Triple H and creative still wants to maybe have Punk involved in the company in some
Mania,
form or fashion.
sure, absolutely.
Maybe at Mania. And you can continue to hint that with Drew, like freaking week by week until, you know, freaking Punk finally comes back and you put the stamp on that for freaking, let's say, SummerSlam or whatever. There's more intrigue in that than Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre going into WrestleMania, because again, Seth Rollins is talking more about the bloodline than his own issue with Drew McIntyre. That is my problem. I understand that maybe after WrestleMania things could be salvaged, but I'm just thinking strictly about WrestleMania right now. Forget what happens after Mania. Forget about War Games. Forget about Survivor Series. Forget for SummerSlam. Forget everything ahead. I'm just talking about the next 40 some odd days till WrestleMania. And as of right now, things just do not feel like they are progressing. We feel like I'm seeing the same little hints and teases that I've seen for freaking months, and things are not, we're not hitting the gas pedal hard enough. That is my issue. Not saying that I don't think that there's hope, not that I'm holding out hope, not that I'm not hopeful that stuff that can be salvaged, like again, with people like Drew McIntyre, like a Gunther, who is doing tremendous stuff right now. It's just very odd that, again, we stuff himself with another heel that's getting booed louder than him. Like, what is that doing for Gunther that's trying to get also heel heat the same way Dominic Mysterio is? It doesn't make any freaking sense. It doesn't help these wrestlers trying to develop a connection with your audience.
Like all the teases that they're having, like, I mean, so before Mania here in the next, whatever, you know, in the next 6 weeks, at some point, you're either getting a triple threat or a fatal four-way for who's going to challenge Gunther. And it's going to be Sammy, Bronson Reed. I don't think it's going to be Drew. It's going to be Dom. And if there's a fourth person, maybe. So either a triple threat and Sammy comes out of that. And yeah, if Sammy and Gunther is your Mania match, Sammy's winning that match. He's beating Gunther.
Yeah. I mean, Gunther should drop the title at Mania. I mean, Gunther's ready for that main event slot now. And I think Sami Zayn, again, he's believable enough. And that can honestly help Sami Zayn to where maybe in the future, like I said about Money in the Bank, you want him to win Money in the Bank, definitely look into that because it's in Toronto, Canada. You could do wonders for Sami Zayn. So, but man, Brian, I just miss the days when things were just either just 1-on-1 or 2-on-2 tag matches. Just keep it simple. Just keep it simple. Just keep the beef between those two people. Instead, we're trying to connect all these dots that are just freaking unnecessary. Can it be fun to a degree? Sure. But the problem is that I don't truly believe that this company has a long-term idea of where they're going. Me and you, probably we have a good idea because, again, I feel like we just have more of a creative freaking bone in our body than this company. But for them, I just don't trust it because for a year, they've ruined Cody Rhodes' freaking momentum. Because of The Rock and him coming back, Cody Rhodes is finally somewhat more over than he was freaking at WrestleMania 39. And the reason why is because for a full year, Triple H has made this dude look like a fucking fool. He's made this dude look like an idiot that never explains himself ever. And I don't think he's ever going to explain himself at this freaking point. So yes, even though, Brian, yes, I could blame a lot of things. I can give a pass about, their travel schedule because of freaking Elimination Chamber. And to a degree, those are
real things.
Like, that's my point. Yeah. Yes, to a degree, but I can't ignore everything else throughout this whole year, for the last several months of what you've done to people like Cody, what you've done to people like Sami Zayn, what you've done to people like a Xia Li, like a Zoe Starks, like a Shayna Baszler, like whatever name you want to throw at me. That I can't let slide though, Brian. Little things like you said about travel schedule. Yeah, that's real stuff. Absolutely. I'm not saying it's not. Absolutely. But I can't ignore everything else. I hope that makes sense to a lot of people listening.
No,
too.
I hear you.
So, but Brian, before we get into our topics, your final thoughts.
Well, yeah, and like with Cody, especially with the Brock thing, and explaining why. I mean, yeah, like WWE is never going to mention Brock again, so he can't explain that at this point.
Well,
like,
Brock, no, but at least
Yeah.
for the reason why you decided to change your mind about facing Roman at Mania.
Oh yeah, right.
That's what I mean. Yeah, Brock.
Right.
Yeah, dude. Like I'll be dead by the time we get an explanation.
Right.
For Brock Lesnar. Yeah, there's no going back to that. But yeah, man, like I said, and again, listen, because I want to be, and listen, here's why I'll end it with this. And I said it earlier, because I want to be fair. All right. I want to be fair before people start calling me a freaking negative Nancy or whatever the frick is. I've heard it before many times on TikTok and whatever. I hear it. I read your comments.
I get
read
it
these
too,
comments
man.
and everything, but here's the thing. A lot of it can be salvaged, and the way you can salvage it is with the undercard. Sami Zayn and Gunther.
There's so much that can go on. Absolutely. Yeah.
Tiffany Stratton and Bianca Belair.
Yep.
Jimmy Uso and Jey Uso. Logan Paul and Randy Orton. A lot of these things, man, if you book it properly,
CM Punk can still be involved.
CM Punk can maybe still be involved, right? To tease a little bit with Drew McIntyre in the future. A lot of this can be involved. And yes, we can hold out hope to the highest degree that this company is going to get it right. But how much can we hold out hope to the point to where this company is just not as creative, that Triple H is just not that creative as we think that he is? Because I'm telling you, for majority of what this show is, if this is Vince McMahon, and I'm not saying you personally, Brian, I'm saying just a bunch of other people. If this was Vince McMahon still running this freaking show, there's a lot of different perspectives about Monday Night Raw this past Monday than it would be for Triple H. I'm telling you freaking right
probably.
now. So, that's my problem. And again, not saying that Triple H has not done better stuff than Vince McMahon over the last 10 years. But guess what? My 13-year-old stepbrother can put on better shit than what Vince McMahon has done over the past 10 years. Like what's the standard in that? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like where's the bar here? Like,
my daughter could write a pretty damn good little story, man.
That's what I'm saying, bro. Like freaking on a green crayon, we could come up with better shit, man. Like, that's not saying anything. That he's better than Vince, that he's a better booker than Tony Khan. Have we fucking watched the AEW product over the last freaking year? Like, what are we saying, bro? He's better than Tony Khan. Like, dude, stop. Like, have we watched AEW? Have we not watched the build with AEW Revolution? Sure, AEW's got some good stuff too, but let's cut the shit, people. Like, seriously, it's like the bar continues to get lower and lower, and I just don't like that, man. If people want to enjoy it, cool. If you enjoyed this entire road to WrestleMania, I'm speaking to whoever's listening or watching. If you're enjoying this, that's great. Awesome. Seriously, I'm not throwing shade. That's totally fine. You like what you like. That's your prerogative. But for what I'm saying doesn't make it to a degree not true. Because I'm not just speaking just for my narrative. I'm just speaking of what I'm seeing from the crowd, what I'm just seeing from common sense and logic, and Wrestling 101. Right? I like Drew McIntyre. I like Chad Gable. I like a lot of these wrestlers. But just because I like them and I hold out hope doesn't mean
that was the other one. Gable, yeah.
Chad Gable, right?
Gable, Reed, Sammy, and Dom. Yeah.
I love all these wrestlers. I want to see these wrestlers succeed. But there's a point to where we got to just call it the way it is, man. And yeah, there's a bunch of good, and it's from the wrestlers alone. But at some point, man, we got to start acknowledging that there's a lot of freaking issues, right? Not saying we just solely focus on the issues, right? Because I've spoken a lot about the positives, like about Drew, like about everybody else. But we also got to acknowledge that there's a lot of fucking issues right now, especially with WrestleMania. Outside of WrestleMania, that's a different story. But for WrestleMania alone, because we are now on the clock over the next couple weeks. Can The Rock save that? Sure. It's the freaking Rock. The Rock is going to do his freaking thing. But everything else, man, it's just how much more can you hold out hope? And that's my question to everybody. So, but enough of that. That was 30 plus minutes. We're going to dive straight now into this show specifically, and we're going to jump straight into it. So let's start off with the women, shall we? So Rhea Ripley started the night off. Dominic Mysterio technically started the night off. He introduces mommy, Rhea Ripley, to the show. Rhea Ripley talks about her match against Nia Jax, how Nia Jax was pretty much her toughest opponent in pretty much her entire reign, or also her entire career as of late. And that's when Becky Lynch comes out and they just exchange words. That's all I can really put it. The same exchange of words that I heard at the press conference. It's the same setup from the freaking press conference that you did freaking this past Monday on Raw. Dominic was involved. The only difference is that Dominic was involved. That was pretty much it. And freaking Rhea Ripley walks away. Nia Jax gets involved. She attacks Becky Lynch. Rhea Ripley keeps walking up the rampway. Again, doing heel tactics, but who knows? That could change at freaking WrestleMania, that she maybe does turn. Brian, we've talked about that. You've spoken about that as well. That sets up a match with Nia Jax and Liv Morgan. So they have a matchup. The match ends in a DQ. Becky Lynch got involved. Of course, trying to get redemption with Nia from freaking attacking her earlier on. Liv Morgan was not happy. In the backstage area, she goes up to Becky Lynch and says, "Not everything is about you." And she storms off and walks off. So are we getting a fatal 4-way? Are we getting a triple threat? Are we getting just 2-on-2? Who the fuck knows at this point, man?
It's definitely not 2-on-2. I'm confident in that. It's at least a triple threat.
You got to think it's Liv. You got to think maybe it's Nia. I mean, who knows? I mean, I've spoken about Jade Cargill. I don't know the likeliness of that maybe happening. I mean, if they're going to have that, they're going to have to start planting more seeds of Jade and Nia Jax like right now.
I'm surprised. Like, I mean, I haven't heard any. I mean, I know we know she was taken off Elimination Chamber, but she wasn't on this Raw either. Like, what's going on, man?
Exactly. Yeah, and the thing is too, guys. So next week. So once again, because the thing is too, and Jalen brought up a really good point last week. It's like, didn't Nia Jax defeat Becky Lynch on Monday Night Raw? I believe it was day one, just like a month ago. And you know how they're salvaging that now, Brian? Now next week, guess who's having a match next week? Becky and Nia Jax.
Yeah.
And you're probably going to have Becky Lynch defeat Nia Jax or DQ to set up maybe a fatal 4-way to add all of those other two ladies, Liv Morgan and Nia Jax, into this situation. So you're trying to blur the lines to say, yeah, she defeated Becky Lynch a month ago, and she did win the chamber because now, but here's the thing now, Becky won the chamber. You're going to add Liv Morgan into this situation, which, it could happen because now you're getting this whole "we want Liv" thing on Twitter, on X right now. People are now asking for Liv Morgan. Probably the same fucking people, Brian, that said that she sucked during her freaking first title reign. And now all of a sudden we want freaking Liv Morgan. These same people now want Liv Morgan, but that's a different discussion anyway.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
It's very weird with fans. It's just very freaking odd. But the thing is too, so Liv Morgan's going to get added to this situation. So the question I have is, what's the point of the Elimination Chamber then? If you're just now just going to add people into this match, because if that's the case, freaking get rid of the Elimination Chamber because it means nothing. It doesn't mean freaking shit.
I think they're hoping that just, fans suspend disbelief to a certain degree. I think that's because you're absolutely right.
Suspend.
If you win that chamber, I mean, it doesn't guarantee, I guess, specifically a 1-on-1 match, but that's the general idea of it, you know.
Absolutely. But Brian, more of your thoughts, man. I mean, freaking triple threat. Does Nia Jax get involved? Like, talk to me, man. What do you think?
Again, the only thing well, there's two things, I guess, I'm pretty sure of. You're getting the double turn with Becky and Rhea, or at least, like, I don't see how you can have this match and, unless Rhea's retaining, which could happen as well. But and just with the crowd in the past 4 to 6 months, and she's distancing herself from Judgment Day, it's just, it's time she's going face. And I think it would be perfect to turn Becky heel at that point.
Yeah.
You have this story between Becky and Nia, which, maybe, like I said, I was thinking maybe you have that at Mania where Becky pins Nia. But if you have that over and done with before Mania, and then you add Liv into it and have Becky pin Liv for the title, possibly even better, making Becky the heel, Rhea turns face. That's just what I hope. Or, I feel like that's what I feel like, because I don't think I'm necessarily, like I couldn't create a show like an Al Snow or a Paul Heyman, like no doubt. Like I'm not, couldn't do that. But I would hope there's people in the room that are if you're still continuing the story with these 4 women that, I mean, this just kind of falls right in your lap. Like, why wouldn't you do this? You know what I mean? But, who knows? But I definitely think you're getting at least a triple threat at Mania. It's not going to be one-on-one. And Rhea's going to turn heel or turn face, and Becky's turning heel. And as far as Becky Lynch goes, I mean, I like her better as a heel than a face, if I'm being honest.
Dude,
so,
I said it freaking when she was a heel, freaking before, obviously, when she officially really turned back to a face at SummerSlam when she was facing Bianca. People were shitting all over her heel freaking run at that time. I thought she was doing a tremendous job as a freaking heel. I thought she was freaking tremendous, like with the shtick that she was doing. Even the freaking turn when she did it, I thought was done tremendously well. It's just, but now she's back into this Mon character. Now, listen, is Becky Lynch a decent talent? Is she good? Yes. But this man character, and I'm just being completely honest, it hasn't been the same since.
Yeah.
It's run its course. Exactly. It's run its course. And the heel character at that time just felt so refreshing, right? It just felt so like she needed something new. And again, we just have more freaking marks and freaking nerds that just didn't like it. And then now she's back as a babyface, just now back into this man character. Like you said, Brian, that's just run its course. And it doesn't have the same steam like it once started freaking years ago. So, but yeah, freaking, I think that.
You know what bothers me most about Becky? And this is petty as fuck. It's just something that is, it's always just, I don't know why it just touches a nerve in me, man. It's like, I'm a huge Johnny Cash fan, man. And every time she says, finally the man is coming back around to wherever. Oh, just fucking, God damn it. Why are you stealing that from him?
The man has come around to San Jose.
That's petty as fuck. I just don't like it, man.
Kind of like, it's like her voice cracks a little bit too. So it's like, it's just very, very interesting. Yeah, man. And listen, the double turn, I didn't really speak much about it last episode, but I think at this point, like the double turn is the only thing that I can honestly hold out hope for, like, especially with Rhea, because at some point, like, you're going to have to turn Rhea because no one's booing Rhea anytime soon. And the more you continue to keep her heel, the more it's just going to continue to damage her in the process.
And the more it puts her and what you can do in a box, like
absolutely, for sure. So and hopefully they make it fun. I just hope that they don't do the same exact thing and who knows, like people are probably going to get involved into this match with Becky and Nia. Probably Liv Morgan. Maybe Liv Morgan gets revenge on Becky for interfering in her match, and now Liv is going to do the same thing. Maybe Rhea Ripley, she's like watching from the shadows, or maybe she's on commentary or something. Who the hell knows? So yeah, I think to make a long story short, because I do want to get into the next topic here, the double turn is probably the only thing I'm holding out hope for, that everything can be salvaged with Becky and with Rhea moving forward at this point. I just wish that, man, like, you really would have created big headlines freaking going into doing that opening segment, because again, you didn't want to do it at Elimination Chamber freaking this past Saturday. And, I've heard people like, listen, it's her home country. It's Australia. It's a feel good moment. And I said, okay, fine, whatever. I would have done more after the show, but whatever. So I hold out hope till freaking Monday Night Raw. And really nothing happened between that interaction freaking this past Monday to start the show. Really nothing. Outside of now that potentially Liv and Nia Jax could just get involved. The interaction is the same from the press conference. Everything's the same. You just add a freaking Dominic Mysterio in there. I just wish that we could just get more creative, man. Instead of the same setting and the same spiel to get to this segment, if that makes sense to everybody. So, but we'll see what we shall see in regards to it. So let's get into our second topic. Second topic is with Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins. Drew McIntyre came out again, freaking sitting cross-legged like freaking CM Punk would do. He talked about how he suffered like an injury and he went to the doctor and how he could potentially miss Mania. He's like, what am I, CM Punk? Ain't no way I'm missing WrestleMania.
He's doing awesome, man.
He's great. No, he really is, man. He is.
Really, and you got to give him that extra, I feel, extra credit. Who just did it? And we talked about it not that long ago. Fucking Bray Wyatt. Telling a story, like he's building this feud by himself. Punk isn't there, right? And he's building it, so kudos, man.
Drew McIntyre alone has been doing a tremendous job telling the story with Punk, which is, again, no doubt, by the time Punk comes back, they're going to have a match, and it's going to be for that World Heavyweight Championship, by the way, too. So, again, kudos to Drew, because himself and a few other names is what at least keeps this frickin' show afloat. So, frickin' shout out to Drew McIntyre. Again, he's sitting cross-legged. He's like, listen, CM Punk, I know you're straight edge. So what I did in favor of you is that I drank twice the amount for both of us.
I thought he was going to go the route of suggest maybe you can have some apple juice like a little kid or something,
Yeah.
That was still good. Yeah,
I could see that too. Yeah, but that was really funny.
Yeah,
absolutely for real. Again, shout out to Drew. And again, man, I'm more interested in Punk and Drew because there's just a lot more intrigue than just Drew and Seth. And speaking of Seth, he comes out in his wacky fucking clothes. Like, again, he's a teenager. He just came freshly out of Hot Topic. He's having
all
an
the new shit.
Crisis.
Right.
It's really weird. Like, it's like the old version of Seth in just wacky clothes. Like, he's not even really doing the laugh much anymore. He's not even really doing much of the Joker stuff. It's just Seth Rollins in just wacky fucking clothes. It's really, if you really think about it, it's weird. So and again, the majority of this freaking promo is about the bloodline, and it's just not about Drew and Seth, not about their beef, not even really about the World Heavyweight Championship. To a degree, like he was talking about, like how they could potentially go after his championship, his workhorse championship, if he doesn't stop the bloodline. That's why he's been so involved with the bloodline. But again, dude, you're not fighting the bloodline at WrestleMania, dude. You're fighting Drew McIntyre, dude. Stop worrying about the freaking bloodline. Let that shit be with Cody. Do Cody and Rock. Do Cody and Roman. Like, worry about Drew and the story with Drew than the fucking bloodline, man. That's my freaking issue. The face-to-face, the interaction, solid. These two are tremendous professionals, and they made something out of nothing, But again, I also saw this same face-to-face interaction 4 months ago, and that's what I mean about evolving, and that's what I mean about adding a different layer. When do we pick this up now that we're almost a month away now from Mania? So again, nothing doesn't mean that there was anything wrong with the interaction. Doesn't mean I don't think that there was anything wrong with the altercation. And yeah, it could plant seeds after WrestleMania, like you said, Brian, about War Games and about the bloodline. This whole shtick could probably continue after WrestleMania, which could happen to a degree, by the way. As I've stated before, like Roman Reigns could still hold on to these titles. I'm still 99.9% sure he's holding on to those titles after Mania. And so, and then who knows, freaking a bunch of crybaby bitches can probably start another freaking movement or whatever. But so
rematch at SummerSlam.
Rematch. Yep. Let's freaking 3 times the charm. Right. So that's where I'm at. Drew McIntyre, tremendous with Punk. Really good. I want to make that statement clear. Really good stuff with Punk. I'm looking forward to when Punk comes back. Seth Rollins, again, he's a tremendous professional, but I can't take him seriously with the wacky clothes and everything else, and with the bloodline. It's just really weird. It's like you're doing everything else but build up Drew and Seth. It's not about Drew and Seth. It's about the bloodline and what you do after Mania. I don't really care right now about after Mania. I care about is this match between Drew and Seth. If you're going to do this for the 3rd freaking time, things need to evolve. The only thing that's evolved is that Drew McIntyre is in the position that he should have been months ago. And that's it. So, Brian, I'll let you have the floor. Your thoughts, man. The floor is yours.
Yeah, man. I mean, I just look, for me, and this is like, I just tend to see things like a bigger picture, look far out, and that's probably sometimes to my detriment.
Love that.
But like, yeah, I feel like this is what we expect, right? Like, I mean, I think we could all agree that Seth is going to lose the title, and he probably really like needs to take time off to heal his body and whatever. And then, like you said, like with his character right now, I mean, it's kind of almost, to me, like it feels like they are telling us, or maybe not telling us, but I'm just picking up on things where like, yeah, now, you know, his character was like, he had the people singing along and he had the laugh and he had crazy outfits and whatever. And now he's lost the laugh. And you know, now he's more of a face type character. And it's like, it's just setting up for that. He's gonna, you know, Mania, he's gone.
Yeah.
And then he's, you know, gonna make his return in a revamped whatever.
I was going to say that. I mean, maybe this is like a sign to where when he comes back, he finally gets rid of the clothes and all this shit. And he comes back as just Seth Rollins, like Seth Rollins that we saw blossom into a star that we know today. Like that's the version of Seth. Like it doesn't have to be like the architect Seth Rollins, even though I feel like that's the best version of Seth, as well as
probably
the Intercontinental title.
Right.
It was back in 2017 or 18 around that time frame. So yeah, you can say that to a degree. In regards to that. And yeah, I can honestly see that. Like by the time Seth Rollins loses this match, because he's probably going to for the most part. I think we can all agree.
I don't think he's retaining.
Yeah, I agree with that. So yeah, no, you can make that statement to where like the what's the word I'm looking for? The layers of this Joker type of shtick is slowly fading away to where once he's signed off a TV, he comes back as something new. The thing is, though, we've seen Seth Rollins do a lot of different versions of himself. He's been an architect. He's been a part of the Shield. He's been a messiah. Now he's a visionary. So, but hey, if there's anybody that can reinvent themselves, and Seth Rollins, whether people like it or not, it's their prerogative. But if anybody can reinvent themselves and be the professional that they can be, it's Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
So maybe for Seth's prerogative or Seth's point of view, that could something that they could do with Seth Rollins in the future.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, there's no doubt. And I'm hearing this whole stick about Damian Priest cashing in the briefcase. Guys, that's not going to happen. They're not going to take that title off of Drew. If Drew McIntyre wins this championship or loses this title to Seth just for Damian Priest to cash in the briefcase, then again, I've even said it going into the chamber.
That'd be fucking horrible.
What the fuck was all of this for Drew? So
I think Drew's gonna.
You can't do Drew dirty freaking like that. Just to give Damian Priest the freaking title that nobody's give a shit about freaking Damian Priest. And again, not saying Damian Priest is not a good talent, but as a solo act holding a title, nobody's gonna care. Drew people care about Drew right now. Give that shit to Drew. Keep building him and CM Punk and go from there.
I think he's gonna hold this for a bit. I mean, because he's. I mean, you think. I mean, a feud with Sammy, a feud with Punk, Gunter maybe down the road. But I feel Drew's got to have a run here, man. I mean,
absolutely.
Again, we talk about deserve and whatever. This guy's fucking earned it, man.
And try to make that title somewhat relevant and prestigious. And you can do that with Drew and Punk. And you can do that with Punk and Seth when maybe Seth Rollins comes back, as I'm sure they want to resume Punk and Rollins in the future. So yeah, there you go. There's a lot of potential to try to maybe have this World Heavyweight Championship to be just as prestigious, right? It's no longer the loser bracket title. Freaking again, Roman Reigns is not mine, and have it to that same prestige as Roman's title. You started with Drew. You started with Drew and Punk, and that could maybe start to get things in the opposite direction. Because even though Seth Rollins, and he's deserved his flowers for how hard he's worked and putting his body on the line and being a workhorse and everything, but outside of maybe who am I thinking of? Shinsuke Nakamura, those little interactions that they've had, and maybe Drew McIntyre in the past, maybe to a degree, there hasn't been really a lot to latch onto with Seth Rollins' title reign. There just really hasn't been, outside of maybe him winning the title itself. So we'll see. We'll see in regards to it. But let's get into our final topic for this review. Our final topic, is the main event, which was Grayson Waller or Cody Rhodes versus Grayson Waller. It's funny. Shout out to Jalen. He just mentioned about how you could have just had freaking Cody and Grayson Waller in a match. And here they are freaking on Monday Night Raw, and they're having this freaking match.
Right.
I find that funny. So Grayson Waller, who I believe is a SmackDown competitor, and he's on Raw. I guess WrestleMania season, they're just going to just let people jump from brand to brand, I guess. Like
that's what I mean. You know what's going to happen with Cody if The Rock is going to be on SmackDown the next. I mean, it's going to happen.
Yeah,
with Cody for sure.
So I'm sure it's going to happen with Cody too. So I mean, who knows in regards to it? They keep planting seeds too with him and with Grayson and Austin Theory. I think Grayson was backstage and he talked about how like he tried to help his boy Austin Theory out from freaking Chamber, and Austin Theory's like, bro, you didn't do shit, dude. You just sat there and watched me get my fucking ass whooped. So they're still they're slowly starting to plant seeds for that. If people are into that, hey, freaking props to them. So just throwing that out there as well. But with Cody Rhodes, he has this matchup with Grayson Waller. Matchup was fine to a degree, could take it or leave it. Match ends with a Cody Cutter followed by a Crossroads. And Cody Rhodes wins this match pretty much straight up. Of course, Cody Rhodes winning this matchup, of course, is the right call. I feel bad for Grayson Waller. It feels like Grayson Waller is just there to really just do the job for a lot of people. And who knows, again, maybe things could heat up with him and Austin Theory. I don't know. Are you going to have Grayson as the heel and Austin Theory as the face? I don't know how the fuck that's going to freaking go with Austin Theory as the face.
I don't know.
I really don't know how that shit's going to work, but that seems like what they're going to do. But that's a different discussion for a different day. Paul Heyman comes out. Michael Cole on commentary teased that, Paul Heyman's in the building. He comes out with suspended NYPD officials. Suspended.
It was like, NYPD. We got some on vacation. Well, not really vacation. They're suspended.
They're suspended. Dude, Paul Heyman, I'm telling you, Drew McIntyre and Paul Heyman is what made this freaking show, man. It was freaking great. So Paul Heyman's out there. And he pretty much just, he tries to warn Cody Rhodes. It's like, listen, I want you to take back your challenge to The Rock. Pretty please with a cherry on top, as he would say. And Cody Rhodes is just, he's had it. He's like, listen, I'm done being nice. I'm done playing games. Is this a setup? Is this a bloodline setup? Freaking on. Let's freaking do it. Official Heyman, he claims that he's the only bloodline member in the building. The only member of the bloodline right now in this building is me. And then that's when the officials, the suspended officials, freaking surround the ring, and Cody Rhodes like, listen, somebody takes a step here, I will freaking lay everybody out one by one. And that's exactly what they did. He takes the chair, lays out all the officials, hits a crossroads to one of them. He launches the freaking chair in someone's face. That was like that legit looked freaking gruesome. I'm sure that dude either, I don't know, I would be shocked if this dude didn't have some sort of cut on his head or whatever. But freaking Cody, it was kind of, again, it was cool and refreshing to finally see Cody in this, like, I've had enough freaking, like, I'm just going to whip your ass freaking shit. Like, I've had enough. I'm done with all of this shit. Instead of just going out there with your suit and tie and smiling like everything's hunky-dory, like you haven't been screwed over for a fucking year. Right. So that alone I can respect, right? I can respect that version of Cody. It was somewhat refreshing, right? And then so he lays out everybody. Paul Heyman, freaking, he grabs up the phone and says, freaking, call Roman Reigns. It has the Bloodline logo. And then he raises up another phone. Call The Rock. My man's got two phones. I got two phones. freaking Brian, you know nothing about that. That's freaking Kevin Gates. Shout out to Kevin Gates. But anyway, so my man's got two phones. Again, one for the plug and one for the load. Again, Kevin Gates. Shout out to him. So yeah, man, freaking hilarious, bro. Again, it reminds me back in the day, like freaking watching Paul Heyman with that old school cell phone with the massive, it just brings me back to that, how freaking hilarious that is. Like he'll always call someone to get an advantage in his freaking
that shit back in that day, though. It's so funny. That was state of the art shit.
Bro, like, and it reminds me of like that. The phone shit reminds me of that so much. Like call Roman Reigns and slowly like, with a serious face, the Brahma Bull logo pops up. I'm like, I'm sorry, man, that shit's funny. That was really good. So and Cody Rhodes, he finishes it off, says, yeah, Paul Heyman, call them up, because guess what? The Bloodline's not hunting me. I'm hunting the Bloodline. And the show goes off the air with Cody Rhodes standing tall. Brian, I'll let you have the floor. Your thoughts, man. This match, Paul Heyman, and everything else, bro. Talk to me.
That's what you just said is what the next 6 weeks for me is going to hinge on.
Yes.
Because he's now stated, I'm hunting the bloodline. So for fuck's sake, either this Friday or next Monday, don't come out here in a fucking suit smiling and shake hands with Seth and whatever. Like, go fucking after Solo and Jimmy or whoever,
Preaching to the choir, bro. Yes,
so
absolutely.
That's like, if you don't do that in the next 2 episodes, then what the fuck, man? Like,
exactly, bro.
So,
listen, WWE as of late, they like to start the night off with people. They're trying to, because of course, with TKO, right? This new deal with TKO, this new merge. You're seeing a lot more styles of where the talent is arriving to the arena, like you would see like an athlete arrive to an arena or a stadium to about to play a game or whatever. You're starting to see that with a lot of these talents now. They're arriving to the arena. Here's Becky Lynch. Here's Liv Morgan. Here's freaking Cody Rhodes. Use that to your advantage to where you see the bloodline freaking come into the arena, and Cody Rhodes is secretly a freaking, I guess you could say a silent type of an attack, right? He's freaking playing and he attacks one member of the bloodline because he's hunting the bloodline. That's what he's saying. And he's taking out,
have a backstage where you just see Solo laid out, right? And
exactly. Like Jimmy's laid out, Solo's laid out, and then freaking Rock and Roman are left, and they're like, what the hell's going on? What the hell? And now that adds suspense for SmackDown later on in the night. See, guys, it doesn't take freaking a rocket scientist to make this shit freaking fun. That's what I'm saying, bro. I'm telling you, Brian, if we get a bunch of creative freaking people, we could put on some good shit. I'm telling you, I'm just saying, freaking all my, again, just go back to what I said earlier on in the cold open. But I do respect a lot what they did with Cody. And I do hope they continue that, man. I really do. Enough with the smiling, enough with the freaking 5-piece suits. Get rid of that shit. You say you're hunting the bloodline, freaking do it. You got freaking 5 to 6 weeks? Freaking ramp that shit up. But yeah, Brian.
Continue. No, that's it. Like, that's the crux of everything here, man. If he's now stated that emphatically. So now he's got to go okay, fucking show me what you're going to do, man. Don't. Exactly. You got to have segments where Jimmy's laid out, Solo's laid out, Heyman's running scared for whatever reason, just things like that. Make him, to the point, like you said, I'm fucking fed up and I'm done. Now I'm coming after you. I'm not.
Fed up. Yeah.
He's not wearing my suits and
freaking don't have him come out in the suit. Have him freaking come out at his wrestling attire, his own wrestling gear, right? With the freaking the t-shirt or whatever the fuck he wears.
Yeah.
And get rid of that freaking smile. Be freaking serious. Be a freaking man on a mission, bro. Right. And tell and be realistic, man. Stuff that Cody Rhodes has done has not been realistic. You're just making yourself more look like an idiot. And again, that's more on this company than it is Cody Rhodes himself. So yeah, man, it was decent for what it was. Again, the match, you could take it or leave it. But again, man, you can thank freaking Paul Heyman for also making what that segment after the matchup freaking was, because it's freaking Paul Heyman. And to this day, he can still turn freaking shit into gold.
Yep.
So really good stuff there, man. So, but yeah, look, man, listen, I said what I said earlier on in the show, and that's how I feel about this show overall. Again, no doubt things can be salvaged. No doubt the undercard, like I mentioned, can really help with things with Tiffany Stratton, Bianca Belair. We'll talk more about that later on. Jimmy Uso and Jey Uso and the brothers and their matchup for WrestleMania. So a lot can be salvaged and a lot can be saved for this Mania, but it's got to start now. Really think outside the box, right? With these segments, with these brawls, whatever. Start to get more creative, like the setting of it, right? Everything in regards to putting on a good wrestling show. Start to think outside the box. I feel like I just see, Brian, again, the same segment, the same matches, the same backstage interviews, the same promos, the same promos that leads to a face-to-face afterwards. There's just got to be more creativity. It's WrestleMania season. You got to start putting the foot on the gas pedal. And maybe like we talked about with Cody, hunting the bloodline could be in that direction as well.
Right.
Drew McIntyre, hopefully he continues, as I'm sure he's going to. Himself alone has been doing a tremendous job. Again, Gunther, I don't know what the fuck he's doing with the Judgment Day. That shit's just weird. Again, we'll talk about that again for another day. So, but yeah, again, not saying that everything is negative, not saying everything is bad, but man, there's just a lot more issues and things can be salvaged, but it's got to start now. Like it should have happened yesterday, but it needs to start now. It's 5 to 6 weeks away. So, Brian, your final thoughts, man, about this show overall.
I was okay with it overall. You know, like I said, it's, you know, I know not a lot progressed per se, but I'm just willing to, you know, we've been conditioned, right, as wrestling fans, because for a lot of the past 10 to 15 years, the product kind of it's been very subpar at best, right? So you know, we've been conditioned to like, yeah, like this can happen, but it's probably not going to, or we've seen so many times like this star is being built or pushed, and then boom, they're gone. Like why?
Right. And that's the thing too. And I'll get back to you, Brian, in just a second. It's just like, because I'm very hopeful. Like I said, I always say the two things I watch about pro wrestling: habit and hope. Those two freaking things, right? I always hold out hope because I want to see this get better. But how much hope can I hold out until I just come to the realization is that they either just don't know what they're doing, or for some of these wrestlers, they just don't freaking care. And you know,
no, and some of them don't. Yeah, I mean, for sure, you know. But for me, like I want to see, so that, you know, this new ownership has been, you know, just say 2 months. Like, I'm going to give them at least till SummerSlam, you know, to see what happens here, because I just, in my heart of hearts, I believe that, you know, not that I'm going to like everything, but I think everything overall is going to be better and much improved from where we've come from the last 5, 10, 15 years. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it is I just, you know, the head of the stake, the guy with the final decision that made all the calls, he's gone. And I think this is more of a team effort per se, a more inclusive representative of men, women, you know, whatever. So, or at least I hope so. So yeah, I'm going to give it to at least SummerSlam. And I mean, I feel with everything coming up, I feel like storylines will pan out. You know, there's injuries involved. You know, we expect Seth to go off, you know, but I just think it's better. I think it's going to be better.
And fair enough. And I've even said it to where, man, like WrestleMania, like it's just, again, to a degree, and again, I can't blame it solely on it, but the lawsuit and the injuries do play a part in it. And I've acknowledged that already before in the past. But again, I can't just fully just blame it on just that, because again, I always talk about like the way you've gotten to this point for a full year, especially with Cody, like I've mentioned many times. So yeah, and I feel like too, man, it's just the fact that what bothers me is that because of everything that's transpired leading into Mania, and now instead of like really trying to at least for Mania's sake, right? At least instead of like trying to really salvage for Mania, it feels like we're just trying to get past WrestleMania at this point. You know, like you said, to where, you know, maybe after WrestleMania, things can start to maybe pick up steam.
Well, that's not, I mean, I think there's still going to be great I mean, we don't know exactly how the main events are going to play out, you know, night 1, night 2, Rock, Cody, Seth, somebody's wrestling twice. I think somebody is, but somebody's going to be,
it's probably going to be Roman, Rock, Cody. Somebody is probably going to be wrestling twice for sure.
I think that's the biggest, for me at least, because I mean, I think for me, some of this stuff I could already see. I mean, I expect Gunther and Sammy at WrestleMania. You know, of course, Drew and Seth. Really, it's just the bloodline Cody Seth thing, like how that plays out is really my last question headed into Mania.
Yeah.
And well, I
No,
mean, there are
exactly.
a couple more, like you've mentioned, Tiffany and Bianca. I mean, I think they're both going to be there. I think that's a great match.
Book
Have
that shit, WWE, please. Give us the least that you can do, at least for me personally, is give me Tiffy time. Can you at least freaking do that? Give me Tiffy time in Philadelphia.
yeah.
But
I
anyway,
expect Jade to be at Mania.
Jade, yeah. I mean,
So
does
I
she,
think
does she,
I think it's going to be good. I know we don't know how it's going to play out right now, or even what the main events are really,
yeah.
but like there's so much star power, and like you said, even there's so much star in the undercard. Like I think it's
Yeah.
going to be really good.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing too. It's just I think it for me honestly, it's just from what I've watched and just trying to be as honest as I am, it's just more of like the consistency as
Sure.
of late,
Yeah.
especially since Triple H has taken over creative. It's just more of the consistency. Again, not acknowledging that Triple H as well as WWE over the past several months to even a year since Triple H has fully taken over, but it's just the lack of consistency with some of these people. And we've mentioned it too, Brian. Again, people like a Sami Zayn, people like a Shinsuke Nakamura for the longest time, freaking Drew McIntyre. And that's Drew McIntyre's maybe the saving grace out of all of this. And who knows when it with him and Punk after WrestleMania, when it's all said and done, leading into SummerSlam potentially. It's just I haven't seen enough consistency. That's my problem. Like
Yeah.
the consistency, and we saw it for Vince McMahon for 10 plus years creatively. There's nothing was consistent, nothing. And it just feels like it's the same lack of consistency because not only are the shows not consistent, but your talent is also not book consistent. And when your talent is not book consistent, especially with casuals, because I always talk about casual fans, I always look at the minds and the visual of a casual fan. A lot of casual fans who either have not watched the product in a long time or are becoming wrestling fans for the first time. That is so important when it comes to booking these wrestlers to set the stage for them consistently instead of inconsistently booking them, where it's being
Sure.
50-50 booked in matches, where they're having them on the show one week and leaving them off the show the next week. All of that matters. And I've seen just too much of that and too much of that inconsistency than I have seen consistency with Triple H. And until I see more consistency, that's where I'll start to believe and say, you know what? I trust this company that they're going to put on a damn good freaking WrestleMania or a damn good pay-per-view, or they're going to book this dude properly and they're going to build this dude properly leading into this potential feud in the future. Until that happens, man, especially with Triple H, I just don't trust it. I just don't. I'm going to hold out hope, no doubt. I mean, I'm going to watch because I know that's like, oh, if you don't like it, don't watch it. Like, shut the fuck up, dude. I'm going to freaking watch. Trust me. But I just don't trust it. That's my issue because for years and months, I've seen too much inconsistency.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. It's just, I need to see that consistency. I need to see it, especially with the women's tag division, because Jalen said it pretty well.
I like your idea, the idea you had, man. I'm almost ready to say, just fuck the tag, just have a mid-card title,
right? Dude,
and have that instead.
Because clearly they don't know what to do with it. You're throwing just random people in a tag.
Yeah,
have a mid-card. Listen, get rid of the tag titles. If you want a mid-card title, do that and book these women. Focus on these women as solo competitors. Right? Clearly, you don't know what to do with this tag division. You're just throwing women in tags just to throw them in tags, and you're not allowing them to connect with anybody. Like Shayna Baszler and Zoe Starks, they were faces in the freaking match with Rhea Ripley at Crown Jewel. Now all of a sudden they're freaking heels weeks later. Like how do you get people captivated by somebody that you don't know the identity of? And you see that a lot with these wrestlers, the way Triple H books them, as well as other promotions. I don't want to leave them out too, but specifically in this company, a lot of inconsistency is with it. So I hope
I think that would almost make more sense of having the women have a mid-card title, like an intercontinental title or whatever the women,
there's a lot of talent with the women, man. I mean, bro, Jalen said it best too. Like what they've done in the Royal Rumble, the Elimination Chamber, right? Everything, all of these big marquee matches, they've been killing it. Absolutely. So you might as well, as solo competitors, if you want them to book, listen, like for a title, listen, I always believe the fact that, like, listen, just because you place a title on somebody doesn't really mean it's good booking. Sure. But if you want to have the mid-card title solely focused on the women's solo runs, right? Their solo build rather than in a tag team, because again, you're doing nothing with this
You
tag
don't
division.
really build a tag team. Yeah, they
Right.
or
Then
they
get
don't.
right ahead.
Yeah.
'Cause you can build a mid-card division with people like Selena Vega, with people like Michin, with
Yep.
freaking people like freaking Electra Lopez, freaking people like freaking, again, I don't know, like Tiffany Stratton. If you want to start Tiffany Stratton in the mid-card, you could do that as
Chelsea
well.
Green.
Chelsea Green,
Yep.
Raquel Rodriguez, right? You could
Yep.
start all of these people and build feuds fresh and
Yeah.
exciting instead of throwing these fucking women in a tag team. So, and that's
And
it,
then
man.
like you can still and it doesn't, like I mentioned, back in the day, like in the Attitude Era. I mean, all the time you would see, like, they were all individual stars, but you would always have a match, where again it'd be like a Stone Cold and Triple H against The Rock and Taker or something.
Yeah.
So you could always pair two random superstars up and just have a tag.
Right.
But you've already built those women, those characters individually. You know what I mean? So,
Absolutely. Yeah. It's like there's a reason why like Katana Chance and Kaden Carter, why they work so well, because they legit are, everything that they do is a tag team. Like
our tag
that's
team
their
maneuvers,
shtick.
right?
But their
Yep.
maneuvers, their mannerisms, like their story and what they do and how their character is developed is as a team. Like that's,
Like I would say they only have two legit tag teams in their time. I think, unless maybe I'm forgetting one, is them and
Alba Fire and Isla Dawn.
Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. Yeah,
That's
it.
it. That's legit freaking it. Everybody else just freaking let's see. Who do I have on the women's division?
Right.
Okay, let me take Shayna Baszler. Are we doing anything with Zoe Starks? Creator 912. Anything for Zoe? I got nothing. Because I was gonna place her in a tag team. Should I just do that? Go right ahead. Screw it. Why not?
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it is.
I mean, there's two legit tag teams in the women's division, and as great, especially, I mean, Katana Chance and Kaden Carter, what they can do in the ring together. I mean, that shit looks phenomenal, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
But when you only have two tag teams, can you really have a tag division?
Exactly. Right. That's the unfortunate thing. You have two tag teams that can do something special, but if that's all you have, that there's no tag division. And that's just the unfortunate thing. So, but look, man, we got 5 to 6 weeks left until Mania. Like I said, I'm going to hold out hope because I got no other choice to, and we'll see where it goes, man. Again, I want to believe in Triple H. I want to believe in this company, but until I see consistency, until I see proof that they could consistently, for Monday Night Raw after SmackDown after Monday Night Raw, that they can really build something consistently going into a pay-per-view, then there's not a lot of trust within this company. There's just not. I've seen way too many people get inconsistently booked. I've seen way too many people get the short end of the stick. I've seen way too many people, because of shitty booking, get their careers and their reputation ruined because of bad booking. And until I see more consistency, I'm just not going to trust it. I'm just not. I'm going to hold out hope, but I just don't trust it at the end of the day. So, but we'll see. We got 5 to 6 weeks left. There's still somewhat enough time, but you got to start now. And maybe with Cody, that was something in the right direction. With Drew McIntyre and with Punk, who knows what happens after Mania with that. And maybe with this undercard, with Jimmy and Jay, Tiffany Stratton and
Sami and Gunther, maybe.
Sami Zayn and Gunther. There's a way. Again, I've spoken about that on TikTok. Go watch that TikTok video if you haven't, about how I would book Sami Zayn and Gunther. And yeah, man. So will they do that? Time will tell. Again, habit and hope. That's all we can. That's all we can rely on. So, but thank you guys so much for tuning in to another edition of the Ruthless Talk podcast. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Again, our next episode will be this weekend. We will be talking about AEW. Of course, we got AEW Revolution this weekend. Sting's final match going up against him as well as Darby Allin and the Young Bucks. Yep, exactly. Thank you, Sting, man. Again, it's crazy, man. It's just like, it felt like it was yesterday when Sting officially, announced his retirement in full, like he's done. And it was pretty evident in that promo that he cut during that time that he was pretty much done. And now And now here we are in regards to it. So hopefully the moment is worth the wait and the build and the suspense and how they're going to make that feel special. And we'll talk all about that this weekend, as well as next week, the following week. We will recap AEW Revolution. We'll recap all the matches, all the big moments, at least for the most part. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. We will talk about SmackDown. The Rock and Roman Reigns are scheduled to be on SmackDown this week. So I'm sure there's going to be some talk and some buzz with that. So hopefully things continue to progress with that, as well as with Cody Rhodes after what we saw this past Monday on Monday Night Raw. So that'll be on Saturday. And again, we will have our WrestleMania roundtable on March 30th. You see the banner down below. March 30th is when we have our Ruthless Talk roundtable talking WrestleMania. That'll be a week before WrestleMania, both night 1 and 2. So again, once again, man, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Once again, you see the banner down below. Make sure you guys follow us on social media, on TikTok and Instagram, both. That is Ruthless_Talk. Again, we are now also at 70 subscribers. We just hit 70 subscribers on YouTube. Again, thank you guys to everybody that smashed that subscribe button. Make sure you guys stay notified, spread the word. And as always, stay tuned for more content to come. So Brian, your final thoughts before we end things?
Just thank everybody for listening, subscribing, checking us out, sharing, spreading the word, man. Appreciate you all. And yeah, man, I kind of tend to go against my Gen X, what my soul tells me sometimes, and I'm just holding out hope. I know sometimes I'm just gonna get stomped on, but it's we
love this.
It's the love for it, right? It's
the love of pro wrestling, like I do as well. And yes, guys, me and Brian do disagree on things. We do disagree. I know I know it seems like
but it's whatever. It's
exactly
wrestling,
right. Exactly. I know it seems like, listen, I think that's why we have such a good bond in regards to, we have such a similar mind when it comes to wrestling, and we agree on a lot of things. But yes, guys, we do disagree on things, but hey, that's totally fine too. Where we come from it as objective criticism. I can speak. So, and listen, man, it's because we love pro wrestling. We want to see it get better. And we hold out hope, to a certain degree. But as long as we can have conversations like this, especially around the wrestling community, to where, as long as we can like what we can like, we could dislike what we dislike. But, as long as we have good conversations like this, and we know what's going on in the company, and we can try to figure out ways to maybe salvage and just what's going on and just the realism of what's going on. And we can have conversations like this to where, we can develop more relationships like we've done with people like Richie Morris. Shout out to him. People like Jalen, people like David from Top Bunk Sports. And that's what it's all about in regards to it, man. Like I always say, I want to surround people with who are intelligent, that are passionate about professional wrestling. That's always been the goal, is to surround people like that truly care about this industry, that maybe not think 100% like me all the time, but they're open-minded and they're passionate and they care about this industry and they want to see this industry get better. And that's the most important thing. Yeah. And I want to thank to everybody, that all of the people that have listened, all the people that have followed, that have listened to us and have supported us. And it's because of you is, why our community and why we've able to collab with so many people is the reason why. In regards to it, we met a lot of people on this journey, and we're just getting started, bro.
Yeah.
Just getting started. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode. That is going to do it for today's episode, everybody. My name is James Porcelli.
I'm Brian Thomas.
And until next time, and there will be a next time, your boys are signing off saying salutes.
Peace out.
And take care, everybody. Yeet! Dark inside of me. No one would ever take the stand. I will rise.